If you wanted to become a billionaire within your lifetime, how would you do it? Would you try to save as much as you can and invest in index funds? Would you work your way up the corporate ladder? Or would you just start a tech company in the hopes of reaching unicorn status? The chances are you won't get anywhere near $1 billion with these strategies, but there is one tried and true formula to untold riches. Billionaires have been using this formula since the dawn of capitalism. Hi, my name is Maaiz. I'm a hedge fund analyst turned entrepreneur, and on this channel, I share what I'm learning to build the best investment strategies. Bernard Arnault has jumped in and out of being the richest man on earth over the last few years. But unlike many billionaires today, he didn't start off as rich, nor did he found a new technology or invest in the absolute forefront of the cutting edge. Despite humble beginnings, Arnault used the formula to reach the absolute pinnacle of wealth, the #1 spot on the Forbes Billionaires list. Arnault grew up in a family of businessmen with a background in construction and engineering. Despite this, he wanted to find a way to grow beyond his family's small business. Unfortunately, the business he was in, real estate development, was extremely slow and he didn't see a path to growing it substantially. The returns, especially in his home country of France, were just not high enough. Having grown up in the upper middle class, Bernard had aspirations to enter the world of the uber rich, to build a company that the whole world would admire. In his effort to continue to grow his business, he moved to America, a much more capitalist-friendly country, and continued developing real estate. In doing so, he just happens to move next door to the richest man in America at that time, John Klug, the king of leveraged buyouts. Now, you might be asking, what's a leveraged buyout? A leveraged buyout, or an LBO, is when you go buy a company that's not being run especially well with mostly debt. You then fire any additional staff and sell off parts of the business that don't make as much money until you make back your money and much, much more. Bernard Arnault was amazed by this practice. Coming from a pretty socialist France, he couldn't fathom that this was a viable investment strategy. Having realized how lucrative it can be to buy an existing business, especially one that isn't run extremely well, Bernard reached out to his friends in France to begin his own search for a business to purchase. But unlike the LBO king, John Klug, Bernard didn't just want a business he could chop up and sell off to make a fortune. He knew that type of ruthless capitalism was less likely to be accepted in France. Instead, he needed to buy a business he could then grow. With the help of some bankers and $15 million of his family's money, he made a $50 million bid for the luxury fashion conglomerate Bussac Saint Frère. Even though the company was losing tons of money, he knew it was worth much more than $50 million. He won the auction and went on to lay off 9,000 workers and sell most of the company's assets in order to make it profitable again. At the end of 2 years, he was left with just a few parts of the original business, but these parts were highly profitable. The most famous of which is Christian Dior. Within 15 years of investing $15 million to purchase Dior and the other assets, he reached billionaire status. Instead of stopping there, though, he went on to continue to buy more assets he considered cheap and continue to build them using the same formula to compound his wealth to the top of the Forbes Billionaires list. So what was the formula Bernard followed to reach where he is today, and how can you or I use it? First and foremost, he focused on investing in businesses that could give him super high returns. He realized that real estate development, though lucrative, just wasn't going to make him a billionaire. At the end of the day, the average return on investment in development is about 10%. Bernard needed a much better investment return to realize his goals, something you couldn't get by investing in the stock market at 7% annualized returns. Second, he realized quickly he couldn't start from scratch. Having moved from France to Florida and started over in his business, he knew that going into a brand new business without knowing whether it will work or not wasn't a prudent investment. Instead, he focused on an investment that was already likely to succeed. Lastly, he didn't stop. Unlike the richest man at that time, John Klug, Bernard didn't want to buy a business just to chop it up and sell it off. He wanted to grow it and buy more businesses to help it grow again and again and again. And that's exactly what he did. So to break it down, first he maximized his ROI by buying a great business at a very low price. Second, he maximized his chance of success by buying an existing business already making a lot of money with a proven path to profitability. And lastly, he took that strategy that worked so well and repeated it over and over again by buying or trying to buy every major luxury brand out there. Now you must be asking, how do you and I, with much less than $15 million in our pockets, walk in Bernard's footsteps to new levels of riches? Well, it turns out you can buy businesses with as little as $0 down. Often small businesses have such high cash returns that sellers allow buyers to pay them back using the business's own cash flow. On top of that, if you're buying a SBA approved business, at least in the United States, you can buy it with as little as just 10% of the total price down. And then to top it all off, small businesses are sold quite cheaply. You can usually buy a business that's making less than $1 million a year for about 2 to 4 times what they make in an average year, essentially locking in a 30 to 50% return on your investment. Best part is your chances of success can be really high too. Whereas 90% of startups fail, 90% of small, boring businesses that have a long track record don't. And the beauty of it is that you can do this over and over again, just like Bernard Arnault. Be it Andrew Wilkinson and his team at Tiny, or Warren Buffett and his early investments in Berkshire Hathaway and Geico, this formula is extremely lucrative and can be repeated all the way to billionaire status, and it has been. If you like this video, let me know in the comments below, and I can jump in even deeper into this formula and how some of the best entrepreneurs are using it to shortcut their way to amazing outcomes. In the meantime, check out this video YouTube's AI somehow knows you will love. Thanks.